Back to another video. We're still doing paranormal stuff because it's fun and we enjoy it. And there's a lot of content on Reddit, and people's first-hand accounts are pretty interesting. Let's see. Let's start with this first one. I was once half asleep, half awake state where I saw a shadow figure standing right next to my bed, but I wasn't really awake enough to fully comprehend what it was or to be scared of it at first. I would have thought it was sleep paralysis, but the really creepy thing was when I fully woke up and came to my senses, I realized I was reaching my hand out towards it. I didn't even notice until I fully woke up, and then the shadow disappeared. I will never discuss it. It was that bad. I even have proof of it on my phone and felt this overwhelming urge to delete it the following day because I felt like the entity was living in my phone. Well, you just explained it, but that's pretty cool. It's creepily cool, but okay. A couple of months ago in my house, it was about 11:30 at night. Everyone in the house was sleeping except for me, and I wanted to make something to snack on. I get out of bed and walk down to the kitchen and pull a bowl of ramen out of the freezer, put it in the microwave, and walk back to our island where I grabbed a couple of toppings to cut up. The microwave beeped, and as I was walking over to our microwave, out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw another person's reflection in the glass of our porch door. I kind of did a double take and tried to tell myself I was just freaking out because it was dark. I quickly grabbed my food and head back to the counter where I was going to dress the ramen up with my toppings. I was standing at our counter doing that with my back turned to our living room, which is full of our kids' toys. My son was about 5 months old at the time and had a round mat with two arches that over it, the round mat, where the toys would hang. Then they moved. They would sound similar to a cat toy. This play mat was in the center of my living room where my back was turned while I was making the food. I was putting the finishing touches on my food when all of a sudden I hear the hanging toy jingle from behind me in the dark living room. My stomach immediately dropped and my body was almost paralyzed in fear. We have no pets that could have been playing or brushed up against the toy that was hanging off the ground. We had no windows on and no fans that would have caused a draft or a breeze strong enough to move that hanging toy. It wasn't an earthquake on the floor shaking and that couldn't have caused it. Again, I was the only person that was awake in the house. Nothing could have explained that toy moving. I grabbed my food so fast and practically ran to my bedroom. I don't make food after I go to bed in time anymore. I just grab quick snacks and book it. It's not my first paranormal experience, but damn, that is a really fucking horrifying to me for some reason. Yeah, yeah. I don't believe in ghosts or any sort of afterlife whatsoever. One night while I was asleep cuddling my wife, I woke up with an overwhelming sense of calm. I rolled over and saw a shadow figure of my wife at the foot of the bed. I reached over to touch my wife so I was fully mobile and awake. As I watched the shadow figure walk around the side of the bed, it was standing right beside me and slowly fade away when I swiped my arm across where it was standing. Maybe I was dreaming, but I woke my wife up gently afterwards to make sure I was awake. Saw it once a month later and haven't seen it since in the past 5 years. No idea. I've always wondered about things like that because there's been several stories of people who've seen people they know or people that are actually there or just like a shadow version of somebody else. I don't understand that phenomenon. It's very strange. I wish I knew more about it because there's a lot of experiences like that. And why? Anyway, next story. I have a desk, and whilst I am typing, I am facing a wall and a monitor. My cat Rasputin often chills on a little pillow on the desk next to my PC desktop. I was playing some game or watching some stupid YouTube video, and Rasputin suddenly sits up straight and alert and looks straight over my shoulder, focused on the doors to my bathroom. After about 20 seconds, I hear the shower curtain fall down. There was no sound coming from that place before, nothing that could have spooked Rasputin. The odd thing is, I've had a person tell me they met a shadow in my bathroom before on LSD. Well, that one you gotta take a grain of salt. Next one. When my dad passed away, a friend of mine came over to console me. We were talking about my dad and his favorite sports team, back when we had these cheap plastic handles on the sink. And my friend said they lost their number one fan. We heard the plastic squeak as if someone was using the sink. I looked at my friend, he looked at me, and we looked to the kitchen, and the faucet squeaked again. We both ran out of the house. Probably the scariest thing I've ever experienced. I was at my friend's house for a birthday party for her son many years ago. I caught a glimpse of her mother-in-law, and the woman looked green, like death. I told my friend her mother-in-law needs to go to the doctor ASAP. She looks really ill. My friend was understandably upset with me, and I got a lecture about how she was the healthiest person she knew. Never goes to the doctor, etc. I was so embarrassed. The woman admittedly looked perfectly fine. I have no idea to this day what compelled me to open my mouth. The mother-in-law was dead a few months later, of stage 4 cancer. Damn. That's sad and creepy. When I was in middle school, I shared a bedroom with my little sister. She slept in a bed, and I slept on a blanket pallet on the floor at the foot of her bed. There was a small dresser against the wall at the area of my feet. We had just gone to bed, and I was reading a comic with a red light from my alarm clock, when my sister screamed, "What is that?" And in the moment I looked and saw, on the wall, directly above the small dresser, a brightly glowing green rectangular pattern of some kind. It hit the room. It was like an alien writing. We came off our beds and were kind of thrown together against the closet doors on the opposite side of the room, screaming. Then it was gone. Our folks were yelling at us. This was in the early 80s. We didn't have any digital stuff or even a lamp. There was heavy curtains over the windows and woods out back with no light source. I don't know what the hell it was, but it made me even more open-minded about the supernatural. That one's strange. I like that one, though. Around 9 or 10, we lived in a 2-story with a basement. So much weird shit happened. Hands forming on the shower curtain, my grandma claiming she saw someone on the top of the stairs, seeing things constantly. But one that really creeped me out was when I was upstairs alone. The next room over had a doorless closet that had a mattress stuffed in there recently. As I was passing by, I heard someone call my name in a whisper. I first walked towards the closet thinking it's my sister, but something stopped me. I called out and no response. Then I heard the same voice calling for me. Called out for my sister. Lo and behold, she's downstairs. That one's weird. I'm not sure if this is paranormal or more my brain playing tricks on me, but it's the closest thing I've got. Many years ago, I had a dog named Emmett. He was a big golden retriever, and sometimes my mom would let him into the room in the mornings to wake me up or just let him get on the bed and relax and hang out with me. One morning, I was just waking up and still a little sleepy, so I rolled back over to go back to sleep. Then I felt the familiar sensation of someone opening my bedroom door and a dog jumping in on my bed. It was clear as ever. I heard the doorknob turning, my dog's heavy footsteps rushing toward me, and his weight pressing down at the bottom of my bed and getting himself comfortable. Then the door closed. I waited a few more seconds to open my eyes and say hello, but there was nothing there. Then I remembered my dog had died about a year prior to this. The reason I am not totally convinced it's paranormal is because your brain can play tricks on you when it's in that sleep-awake state, whether you're falling asleep or waking back up. So it could have just been my brain recalling a fond memory of my childhood dog. Or maybe it really was Emmett saying hi and coming to hang out. Either way, I wasn't afraid. I just kind of bummed when I realized he wasn't actually there. I said hi to him anyway. We lived in a real haunted house. Most of the stuff was more annoying than scary. Kitchen faucet came on all times of the night. Washing machine would turn on. We would hear an old woman muttering and clucking in the foyer coat closet. Unnerving, yes, but not really scary. One night, the TV kept coming on. I would just start to doze, and it would come on. I had to go to work the next morning, so finally, about the 5th time, I stomped into the living room, yanked the plug out of the wall, and angrily yelled, "Cut it goddamn out! Cut it out, goddammit!" Sorry. The TV instantly came on at full volume and flipped through 3 or 4 channels before turning off. I could feel the static electricity in my hair and my arm hair. I was afraid to turn around and look at the TV and didn't sleep well the rest of the night. At the same house, I found a nearly folded children's pajamas, rotted, when plowing for a garden. Very creepy. It's like someone folded them to put them in a drawer, but buried them instead. Ew. That's a little crazy. I don't like that one. That was a little freaky. I moved into a new place when I was pregnant with my second. My son who was 3, would come in sometimes to our room to sleep at night. So much so that we'd set up blankets and pillows on the floor by the bed. A couple of times I woke him up doing this, only to have no one there when I reached over to make sure he was tucked in. Each time this happened, I chalked it up to crazy pregnancy dreams and never told my ex-husband. A little later, I made my ex permanently change spots on the bed so I could sleep better with the pregnancy. One night, in the middle of the night, my ex flips on his lamps and jumps out of bed. He pulls all the blankets and pillows on the floor and is frantically looking everywhere for our son. He had the same experience I had with our son walking in the room, as real as it can be. My ex claims he hadn't fallen asleep yet, so it was definitely not a dream, and I believe him. Later in the pregnancy, I roll over one night to a toddler girl as solid as me and you sitting between me and my ex. She was wearing a yellow gingham jumper with a crisscross back. I watched as she eventually faded away. That didn't scare or unnerve me, though. That nerves of steel, lady. That's all I'm saying. I grew up in a house built in 1855. When I was 10, I had a room on the second floor. I remember waking up to the night and to some heavy rain. While laying there and trying to go back to sleep, I heard knocking on the window. At first, I thought maybe it was a tree branch. The knocking happened again, and then I looked up and I saw a man in a black suit outside my window. I just sat there staring in shock as he knocked again and asked me to let him in because he was a pallbearer, which I don't know the meaning of at the time. Then I remember him budging open the window with about an inch. I immediately screamed and ran down the hall to my mom and dad's room, where I stayed that night. I told my parents everything, and my dad checked the room. I got in big trouble with him because he saw the window was cracked open. It was painted shut before that night, so naturally he thought I opened it on purpose and lied. I know my mom believed me because I knew I wasn't strong enough to open it. She also didn't like that I had mentioned him being a pallbearer without knowing what it meant. I remember seeing her check around outside the house the next morning for tracks in the ground since it had rained overnight. Never found any. And there was no signs of a ladder being used, as my window was about 10 to 15 feet off the ground. We ended up moving to a different state the same year. Nice decision. I saw my mom staring at an empty display window of a clothes shop saying, "Albert is in trouble. I see flames." After some days, we heard that her cousin Albert had died in a fire in his apartment, in a city very far from the one we lived in. My mother always told me about her terrible gift that faded while she grew old. This was the only time I saw it happen, and I am very happy it didn't pass to me. Paranormal experiences are just a part of my everyday life, so I haven't really felt scared about one in a solid 10 years minimum. That being said, let me tell you about 2 short stories related to things pretending to be other things. I visited my aunt and uncle last year, and the city where we live is relatively a desert area. It was around 3 a.m. While I was doom scrolling TikTok, when out of nowhere I heard a dog. Sure, normal. There's lots of dogs, my aunt's dash hounds included, but this wasn't a dog. It was how a dog would sound if someone who had only heard about dogs. It wasn't even a person pretending to be a dog either. All the blinds were closed, and I was on the 16th floor, but I couldn't even peek out the window. I had this visceral feeling that I wasn't supposed to see whatever it was. It's a residential area, so no foxes, and we don't have coyotes here or other large animals. On a similar note, this happened a few months ago. I heard cats fighting. Normal, I have a lot of cats myself. There's a lot of cats in the neighborhood, and I was half asleep, so I feared one of mine, then feral, older cats, had gotten into a fight. All my cats were asleep as if they hadn't heard a thing. It wasn't until I stepped out of the front door when I realized I fucked up. There was only one cat outside. She looked at me as if she were trying to tell me I wasn't supposed to be there. It's the most human look I've seen in an animal my whole life. The street was empty. No cars, no lights, and other houses, no sound. Not a single sound but my steps and the door cracking behind my back. I took a deep breath. I stepped inside without turning back and woke up my grandma to know I wasn't dreaming. I was, in fact, very much awake the whole time. Like I said, I wasn't scared, but those were maybe 2 instances where my gut feeling was run. I suppose that's supposed to be maybe. That's kind of weird. I kind of like that, though. Lots of weird animal stories. I enjoy those. I stayed at the Farnsworth House in Gettysburg, and it's one of the most haunted places in America. I stayed in the Sarah Black room, and it is the most haunted room in the inn. My first night there consisted of the doorknob rattling, the TV info screen flashed on, but the most terrifying experience happened in the middle of the night. I felt like someone was climbing into bed with me. That's not natural. I was a counselor for an outdoor camp at public school 6th graders. Right before the start of the next week of kids, a tree fell on the power lines that went to the boys' cabin area, so we pivoted and put all the boys in the otherwise unused lodge called Judson Lodge. Before this week, the place gave me the creeps any time I passed by it, so I wasn't psyched to stay there. Later, I found out that the OG counselors had legends about how the west wing of the place was haunted, and there were previous stories of people's walkie-talkies fritzing and hearing, "I'm in Judson," in the white noise. During lunchtime a few days in, one of the cabins finished eating early and went down to Judson to take showers. One of the kids finished his shower, waited in the hallway for the rest to finish, and apparently freaked the fuck out. When a counselor came to check and make sure shower time was running smoothly, he found the kid crying and shaking. The kid said that he saw a floating shadowy figure carrying a heavy bag and a gun moving from the entrance of the west wing. The counselor radioed the other two of us down, so we got the kids to the lodge, out of the lodge, and put in the dining hall. One of the counselors was a big believer in ghosts and was totally confident this was paranormal and not an actual threat. We grabbed fire irons and baseball bats and literally cleared the whole west wing. That was one of the scariest experiences of my life, opening each door and not knowing what's on the other side. We found no evidence of a person passing through, and the emergency exit door at the end of the last room was stuck shut with an old film of dirt and moss from years of neglect. Clearly, it had not been opened recently. We reported our findings to the site supervisor, who then further investigated the kid. She was confident that the kid wasn't making it up, that he was quite still shaken an hour later. This being a subsidiary of the public school, our poor site supervisor had a few options. 1, decide that the kid was making it up, even though we were pretty sure he believed he saw something. 2, operate on the assumption there was some armed person on site and shut the camp down. 3, report to the county school district that a kid saw a ghost and we didn't think they needed to take any further action. Option 1 didn't seem reasonable. Option 2 felt like an overreaction since we had just cleared the whole place and didn't find shit. So we literally sent in the report to the county school district saying that a kid saw a ghost and we're not worried about it because we already knew the lodge was haunted anyways. The county informed the local police to be on the alert, but that was the end of it. Weird shit. Yeah, that's a little strange. All right, one more. Ready? Look up Hotel de Haro at Roche, I hope I pronounced that right, Roche Harbor, San Juan Island, Washington State. We went to a wedding there. I knew it was haunted and had a bunch of Masonic stuff. Look up Night at the Afterglow and Lore podcast. But most people do not know it had a reputation, and this happened to them, so I put more stock in it than anything that happened to a biased person like me. 1, they heard a little girl running up and down all night in the hall. No one had kids staying in the hotel. 2, one of our Marine friends was taking a poop, and he slided, and the sliding lock on the bathroom door went up and over, pushing the door open. He thought he was getting robbed, so jumped out of his with his pants off, but no one was there. Number 3, my all-time favorite. Our family member was getting married to a horrible woman. She cheated in the first 6 months, and they quickly divorced. Right when she went down the aisle, the song had the word angel in it, and when it said angel, the music went chopped and screwed and sounded demonic and slowed down for 5 seconds. A power surge? Maybe. But I think the final gasp of something saying, "Don't marry that succubus." That's a good one. I like that one. So I hope you are enjoying these videos. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, could you kindly like it or share it or maybe subscribe to my channel or maybe just leave a comment. You could just, say, what's the thing? Algorithmic engagement kind of thing. That's cool. I'd be okay with that. Anyway, thank you again for listening and watching. Again, I hope you're enjoying this and we'll keep going and we'll talk to you later. Bye.